Hey basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more news from the Golden State Warriors, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your. Michael Porter Jr. is a great scorer and would be a great fit for the Warriors. Rumors: Warriors are favorites to sign Michael Porter Jr. if he becomes available. The Golden State Warriors have an interesting offseason ahead of them as they try to build around their aging trio of Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. Golden State's 2024-25 season ended in disappointing fashion after they were eliminated by the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5 games in the second round of the playoffs. Of course, the Warriors were not at full strength throughout the series as Curry suffered a hamstring injury in Game 1 that kept him sidelined, which caused Golden State to struggle. February 12, 2025, Dallas, Texas, USA, Golden State Warriors forward Jimmy Butler, 10, and guard Stephen Curry, 30, during the game between the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors at the American Airlines Center. Mandatory credit: Jerome Myron. Main images. With their season now over, the Warriors have some key decisions to make in the offseason regarding their roster around their veteran trio as they try to build a championship-caliber team once again. The Warriors have been linked to many players such as Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Vucevic, and Brook Lopez, but they have also emerged as the favorite to land Denver Nuggets forward Michael Porter Jr. Of course, Porter Jr. put together the best regular season of his career, but after suffering a left shoulder injury early in the playoffs, he struggled shooting the ball. Because of this, along with the Nuggets' second-round exit, Denver could look to move him in the offseason to upgrade their roster around Nikola Jokic. For the Warriors, Porter Jr. would give them another great wing scorer alongside Curry and Butler, which they lacked throughout the season, especially once Curry went down in the playoffs. Golden State could move Jonathan Kuminga to Denver in a sign-and-trade deal along with other players and draft capital to land Porter Jr. this offseason, but they may also not want to take the risk, especially with his injury history. Of course, the main position the Warriors need to fill is the center position this offseason, so going after Porter Jr. may not be the smart move for them to make despite his potential offensive output. New report on Warriors potentially trading for Celtics' Kristaps Porzingis. The Golden State Warriors and Boston Celtics are two teams expected to make changes this offseason. Both teams have won NBA championships in the last 5 seasons, but saw their seasons come to an end similarly, with their star players going down with injuries. Now, they'll look to make changes ahead of the 2025-26 campaign. However, the Warriors will be looking to add more talent while the Celtics are expected to move off talent, to adjust to the CBA's salary cap rules. Therefore, a perfect pairing could be in order, with a new report indicating Golden State's interest in one of Boston's star players. According to ClutchPoints reporter Brett Siegel, the Warriors have expressed interest in Celtics star Kristaps Porzingis to add rim protection and spacing at the center position. The Golden State Warriors have long been viewed as a potential destination for Porzingis before he even joined Boston in 2023. It is no secret to anyone that the Warriors will be seeking immediate frontcourt production, Siegel wrote. The Warriors were heavily linked to Chicago Bulls center Nikola Vucevic at the deadline, but the team went after Jimmy Butler instead. Since he doesn't carry any long-term financial restraints, Porzingis could fill an immediate gap next to Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler, Siegel added. This fit makes sense, but Porzingis' health is the top concern many teams share at this time. The Warriors could look to orchestrate a sign-and-trade for Porzingis using Jonathan Kuminga, as Kuminga could serve as the replacement for Jason Tatum, as he could miss all of next season due to his Achilles tear. The Warriors must go all in for Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Golden State Warriors season ended when Steph Curry injured his hamstring early in the second quarter of Game 1 against the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference semifinals. The worst-kept secret in professional sports came to fruition: the Warriors aren't a championship team without Curry. If you don't believe it, ask their head coach, Steve Kerr. During Golden State's end-of-season news conferences, Kerr stated that everything revolves around Curry. "He's our son. This is a solar system, he's our son," Kerr said. Any talk of "do we need to change our offensive system," to me, is kind of laughable. If the 37-year-old Curry is the Warriors' son, they must do everything in their power to put him in the best position to win a championship. One avenue Golden State must explore is acquiring Giannis Antetokounmpo. ESPN's Shams Charania hinted that Giannis may ask for a trade out of Milwaukee after another first-round exit in the playoffs. He would be the biggest and best player in the NBA trade market. If it's all about maximizing Curry, Golden State has to push all their chips in to see if they can lure Giannis away from Milwaukee. Brian Windhorst of the Hoop Collective podcast suggested that the Warriors may be able to acquire Giannis despite other teams having better trade offers. Golden State had a roller coaster season, going from being one game under .500 in February to winning a play-in game against the Memphis Grizzlies to upsetting the second seed in the Western Conference, the Houston Rockets, as a seventh seed in 7 games. Overall, the season had positive and encouraging aspects that the Warriors can take into the offseason and next year. The Warriors must do everything possible to supply Curry with the best supporting cast to capture a 5th championship. Adding Antetokounmpo would be the best way to get him another title. Warriors will grant Jimmy Butler his wish with one crucial offseason focus. Jimmy needs this more than anyone. A lack of three-point shooting crushed the Golden State Warriors' playoff hopes in the second round against the Minnesota Timberwolves, having been outscored by 60 from beyond the arc in the final 4 games following Stephen Curry's hamstring injury. Jimmy Butler was criticized for his performances in Curry's absence, but in reality the job was made incredibly difficult on the 6X All-Star given the lack of perimeter threats sharing the floor with him. The Warriors need to focus on adding shooting this offseason. Speaking recently on the TK show with Tim Kawakami, Steve Kerr spoke of how difficult it was for Butler to be guarded by a notable defender in Jaden McDaniels, while having to deal with Rudy Gobert who was hanging around the paint and not respecting Golden State's perimeter shooters. There wasn't much space for Jimmy to attack, and we didn't have enough spacing on the floor to give him the room and the freedom and the flow to be at his best, Kerr said. It's something the Warriors desperately need to address this offseason. Sure, having Curry back on the floor will make a world of difference, but Golden State need to rely less on the pure gravity of the 2X MVP. Butler is someone that wants to make the right play every time, perhaps to a fault and to the frustration of Warrior fans. But if that's the way the veteran forward wants to play, the franchise needs to grant him his wish of having legitimate shooters that he can kick out to. It's why Golden State have been linked to an aging Brook Lopez or a former trade target in Nikola Vucevic, both of who would give them a veteran stretch 5 beyond relying on young center Quinton Post. Cam Johnson also remains a potential trade target as a noted sharpshooter, particularly if the Brooklyn Nets show interest in Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors can execute some sort of sign-and trade. DeAnthony Melton is another who Golden State could look to reunite with this offseason, having shot over 37% from deep in his 6 games with the franchise before a season-ending knee injury. Butler was brought in mid-season to a roster that needed him, but wasn't overly designed for him. Now as the bona fide second star alongside Curry, the Warriors will have an entire offseason to explore trade and free agency scenarios that helps the roster make much more sense in fitting Butler's game. Warriors could make trade with Bulls that would greatly strengthen their roster. This could be exactly what the Warriors need. As the Golden State Warriors turn their attention toward either the re-signing or trading of restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga, a trade with one potential suitor, the Chicago Bulls, could best help them strengthen their roster for a championship run next season. As the Chicago Bulls look to strip down to their young core in order to push themselves out of the mediocrity they have been mired in for the past few seasons, it is possible they would be willing to part with a pairing of center Nikola Vucevic and guard Lonzo Ball in order to both shed salary and acquire a player of Kuminga's potential. Such a deal would address 2 of the Warriors' immediate needs while simultaneously strengthening the Bulls' current core. The Bulls could provide exactly what the Warriors need. Chicago, this past season, finished with a meager 39-43 record in the regular season, losing in the first game of the play-in tournament to the Miami Heat. Now, as they evaluate their roster, it becomes clearer and clearer that they must strip down to a young core in order to give themselves a chance to advance as an organization. Pending the re-signing of young guard Josh Giddey, the Bulls will have a solid backcourt of both him and Kobe White, who averaged a combined 31 points throughout last season. Moreover, Chicago has ascendant young forward Mattis Buzelis in their ranks, who averaged 8.6 points as a rook and, toward the end of the season, looked ready to take on a starting role for the struggling team. With the 12th overall pick in the upcoming draft, the Bulls could certainly add a piece that neatly rounds off their starting lineup, but, if the chips do not fall in a favorable order, they could look toward a trade with the Warriors to bring Kuminga to the Windy City. In return, Golden State would almost certainly demand Vucevic, who averaged 18.5 points, 10.1 rebounds, and 3.5 assists last season, along with another player. Vucevic would immediately provide an, albeit aged, solution to the Warriors' lack of rebounding and size in the paint. Ball, who returned from a 2-year, injury-induced absence last season, would certainly be a rehabilitation project, but, if he was able to return to the shooting form he possessed earlier in his career, he could be one of the best possible solutions to the Golden State's need for another trusted player in their backcourt. While Vucevic and Ball have a combined salary of $40 million next season, the Warriors could certainly do some creative maneuvering with Kuminga and their expiring contracts in order to make a trade work. While Golden State showed interest in Vucevic prior to their acquisition of Jimmy Butler, it is not clear whether they would consider a larger trade with the Bulls. However, such a deal could maximize their return for Kuminga while simultaneously strengthening their roster a great measure. Steve Kerr says Kuminga wants out of Warriors due to fitness. On the Dubs Talk podcast, Bonta Hill and Monty Poole discuss what the Warriors should do with Jonathan Kuminga ahead of NBA free agency. Warriors coach Steve Kerr respectfully admitted on Friday that he understands if Jonathan Kuminga has thoughts about leaving Golden State amid concerns regarding the forward's fit with the team when talking to 95.7 The Game's Willard and Dibbs. "I think the number one thing is that JK and I have a very good relationship, we talk all the time, we like each other," Kerr told Mark Willard and Dan Dibley. "This is all just basketball. This is not a case of JK coming in and saying, 'Hey, I got to get out of here, I want this, I want that.' This is just trying to make this fit and trying to make this work. Every young player, even older guys, wants to fit in well with what's happening. There's got to be part of JK that thinks about going elsewhere. Would he get more of an opportunity? Those are all very normal human emotions to think about." Kuminga, who made 30.5% of three-point attempts during the 2024-25 NBA season, often isn't the most ideal fit in Kerr's lineups due to his lackluster jumper. The 6'8" forward scores the majority of his 15.3 points per game within the arc, making it hard for Kerr to play him in lineups that feature other not-great shooters, such as Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, two rotational cornerstones. Though Kerr is excited to have a training camp dedicated to addressing issues such as spacing among Kuminga, Butler, and Green, granted the 22-year-old restricted free agent remains in the Bay. 100%, I'm going to give that time next year. Assuming JK comes back, I will explore that right from the beginning, Kerr told Willard and Dibley. "We didn't have that luxury this year, you know? Jimmy arrived and JK got hurt, almost at the exact same time. From the time Jimmy arrived, we were basically in the playoffs, every game was huge for us. While JK was out, as I explained many times, we got really good. We got really good with Jimmy on the floor and JK injured. And we had to continue down that path and keep trying to win every game just to make the playoffs. Next year, with a training camp and an 82-game season, absolutely, I will give that lots of time and try to make that fit as best as possible." The Warriors, of course, won 23 of 30 games to end the regular season after acquiring Butler in a blockbuster trade with the Miami Heat on February 5. At the same time, Kuminga was in the middle of a 31-game absence due to an ankle injury. Virtually none of Kuminga, Kerr, and Dub Nation loved the forward's fit on Golden State this season. But the Warriors coach is hopeful that a thorough training camp and improved chemistry can revive the Kuminga era. The Warriors' organizational approach drastically changes if Kuminga's full potential is unlocked by the team that selected him number 7 overall in the 2021 NBA draft.